Hey everyone, welcome to the Audio Hotline, the podcast and YouTube channel where I review podcasting gear as well as some audio production gear. I'm your host Bronson. Today we have our very first USB microphone review on this channel, and it is of the Fifine K669B. So there's this one website that's kind of underground. It's not like super popular. You probably haven't heard of it, but it's called Amazon. Anyway, I see this microphone on there all the time, and it has good reviews, and so I've been really eager and really excited to test it out, so I'm freaking pumped about it. Let's do this thing. So I'm testing this microphone today to see how it will do in a broadcast, podcast, voiceover, and YouTube environment. Let's see what it can do on spoken word, and if this is the right mic for you and for your podcast or your YouTube channel. So as you can see, I am using a pop filter right now. This is the Stedman Pro pop filter, and in my own opinion, if you expect to get a professional or a good sounding result, you should probably use a pop filter of some sort or a windscreen. But I will also do some tests without it. Today I am running the Fifine microphone into my MacBook Pro. The level on the Mac is set at about 30, and the level on the microphone is set at about 50%. You can pick up this microphone for $30, which is really a good deal for what you get. Inside the box, you get, of course, the microphone. You get the microphone clip, and you get a nice little tripod thing for your desk. And of course, you get some documentation and, of course, the owner's manual. As far as my first impressions of this microphone, I'm actually pretty impressed, especially for the $30 price tag. I feel like the grill is really solid, and it's a metal body. As far as the only fault I would give it on the body is that the volume knob is just a tiny bit loose. As far as the microphone clip, I'm a big fan of this type because it allows you like 360 movement around, and you can also tilt it if you need to. It's really awesome. As far as the tripod, it's a pretty standard little tripod, and I rarely use these, but I mean, it's nice it comes with it. I would personally recommend using a boom arm of some sort or a mic stand. So now that we've went through what's in the package, let's go ahead and talk about the specifications of this microphone. Like I stated earlier, this is a USB microphone. It's a condenser microphone with a unidirectional polar pattern. The frequency response of this microphone is 20 Hz to 20 kHz, which is pretty much anything you could ever ask for. The sensitivity of this microphone is negative 34 decibels, and the spec sheet says it has an impedance of 1,000 ohms. But usually condenser microphones like this are around 100 ohms, so I was a little confused by that, but it could just be a typo. The signal-to-noise ratio of this microphone is 78 decibels, and this microphone does not require phantom power. But it does require 5 volts, but it just pulls that directly from your computer. Now that we have all that nerdy shit out of the way, let's go ahead and move to some tests. This is a proximity test of the microphone, and in order to get audio that wouldn't clip, I did have to turn the level down to about 30% from 50%. Now here is a proximity test with the pop filter in place, with the level at 30% like the last test. Now I have the level back at 50%, let's go ahead and check the plosives on this microphone. More intense plosives. Peter Piper picked a patch of pickled penises. Less intense. Peter Piper picked a patch of pickled penises. Now with the mic screen, more intense plosives. Peter Piper picked a patch of pickled penises. Less intense. Peter Piper picked a patch of pickled penises. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to a background noise rejection test with this wonderful Apple keyboard. Right now, I am banging on this Apple keyboard to just a ridiculous degree, more than anyone ever should. I know it's not the clickiest keyboard out there, so some gamers, you may have louder keyboards, but I am hitting this really hard, so it should give you a pretty good representation of what this microphone can reject. Now I'm going to go ahead and move around this microphone's capsule and see how it sounds. I apologize for any handling noise. So this is with the microphone capsule facing directly towards my mouth. And now we are twisting the microphone, and now we are at about a 90-degree angle, and this is how the microphone sounds. We're going to keep moving, and now this is with the microphone at 180 degrees directly behind the microphone. So now I'm doing a little bit of a distance test. The microphone is about 2 feet away from my mouth, and this is for you YouTubers that potentially want better audio for your videos, but don't necessarily want the microphone on camera. This is how it sounds. So right now we're going to test the noise on this microphone. I'm going to turn it all the way down and then slowly turn it all the way up, and let's see how noisy it really gets. %, 50%, 75%, 100%. So this whole time you've heard this microphone with no post-processing on it whatsoever. So one more thing I would like to do is show you what kind of a result you could get with some post-processing on this microphone. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn the processing on. So this is what the K669B can sound like with a little post-production on it. Just a little EQ, noise gate, and some compression. Nothing too serious. So now I'm going to go ahead and give you my review of this microphone. I'm going to start out by giving you some pros and cons about it. Here's some of the pros of this microphone. I personally think the price is incredible for what you get. I think the build quality is really nice. I personally really like the microphone clip as well. I love how it can rotate the microphone very easily and how you can get it to whatever angle you need it to be at. Also, I thought the clarity was really good on this microphone, but the overall sound I do have some notes on. I thought that this microphone did a really good job on plosives. They weren't completely intolerable even without the windscreen. I mean, with the windscreen, they were incredible. But I've definitely heard a lot of microphones that are way more expensive than this one that don't do nearly as good of a job cutting on Ps. Another thing that I love about this microphone is that you can just literally plug it in and start playing. The setup of this microphone was so easy. I'd put it into my Mac, and within like 2 minutes, I had Logic Pro open and I was recording on this mic. It was fantastic. So here are a few of the cons of this microphone. The first one being that it doesn't have input monitoring. It doesn't have a headphone jack in the microphone. I think that the latency is pretty decent on this, but I wish that it did have the headphone jack. Another problem I did see was that there was a bit of a noise level issue. It's not as bad as some USB microphones, but there is just a little bit of a hum. One more thing I wish that this microphone did have was just a little bit more bass. I think the clarity on this microphone is really good, but I just wish there was a little bit more oomph. So after getting through some of the pros and cons of this microphone, I personally think it is a good deal for the $30 price tag. I think that the clarity and the overall tone you get of it is completely acceptable for starting out a podcast or using it on YouTube for video games. And if you're going to use it for Skype calls, it's fantastic for that. I think that overall it is a good microphone and I would recommend it. I will be testing this microphone out versus other USB microphones in the future, so stay tuned for that, and I appreciate you watching the audio hotline today. Thanks.